Hey Zwifters, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing 5 things that I wish I knew about Zwift racing. Let's dive into the video. Now the first thing that you're going to really want to know before you hop into your first Zwift race is that Zwift races start extremely fast. And this is something that Zwift is really well known for, is that the races are always going to be really fast right out of the gate. And as soon as the clock hits 0, you should be ramped up, ready to go. And it's not going to be an all-out sprint, but you're definitely going to want to be pushing it pretty hard, and it's going to be I'd say 80% of your typical sprint, and just hold that power until you can really settle into a good position in the group. For some races it's going to be around 15 seconds, other races it's going to be more like 30 seconds, and that all depends on what type of race it is. Like if it's a super competitive race like Zwift Racing League, riders might be smarter and they might settle down earlier, versus other races where everyone's sort of scared at the start, like the Flat is Fast series from Z Racing. It might end up being extremely fast, and you might be holding that effort for quite a while. Now, another reason why you want to really start out really hard in a Zwift race is because you don't want to be getting dropped right at the start of a race. Because if you get dropped right out of the gate, you're not going to have any draft, and you're going to have no chance of catching the group, because draft is just extremely important in Zwift. And if you're off the back within the first minute, you are probably never going to see the front group ever again in that entire race. So it's really important to just be with those top riders at the start, so you can really just stick with them for as long as possible and really just maximize that draft. And yeah, moving on to the next tip, and that is no TT bikes. Now, a lot of riders use TT bikes and then they show up to a Zwift race and they're really confused because they have no clue why they're getting dropped every single time, and that's because they're on a TT bike. And if you are on a TT bike, you do not get any draft. You can only provide people with draft, so unless you're at the front pulling the entire group, it's going to be a horrible, miserable race for you, and everything's just going to go completely wrong, because drafting is just, as I said earlier, it's super important, especially in Zwift races. Now, to check what type of bike you're on, all you have to do is load up a ride on Zwift, hit the menu, go to garage, and then go into your frame, and then you'll be able to tell what is a TT frame and what a regular frame is. And I recommend going on to the most aerodynamic frame as possible, as 90% of Zwift races are flat courses. But we're going to be getting into more of the details as to how you can figure out what bike you actually need in the next tip. Also, for those of you who are new to Zwift and just wondering why bike choice is so important, it's because unlike other apps where the bike makes no difference, it's more just for aesthetics, bikes actually do make a difference in Zwift. Even though the gains are marginal, the difference between the slowest bike on Zwift and the fastest bike is actually pretty hefty. And by using the fastest bike, you could probably be saving a solid amount of watts, and that could make the difference of you winning the race or you losing the race, or you getting dropped and you not getting dropped. So you always just want to give yourself the best advantage possible to having a solid race and just really being successful on Zwift. Now, just a quick heads up, if you are enjoying this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button, because I am trying to hit 1,500 subscribers by the end of February, and if you can help me make that possible, that would be greatly appreciated. Now with that, let's continue on with the video. Now, my third tip that I have for you all is knowing the course. You guys all need to know the course before you hop into your first Zwift race, and the way that you can really figure out what course you're going to be racing on is by loading up the Zwift Companion app. And then on the Zwift Companion app, you can find your event in the events section of the app, and then you can just click on your event, and then it'll tell you what route it's on, and all you have to do is simply type that route into Google, and you'll probably see a result from ZwiftInsider.com. And Zwift Insider is a great resource for those of you who don't know about it, and it really allows you to know a lot about Zwift and kind of get the inside lane as to what's going on with Zwift and how you can do better on Zwift. Now, one of the great things about the routes pages that Zwift Insider has put together is that he has a section towards the left side, and it'll just talk about bike choice, and it'll tell you which bike is going to be the most useful for this course. And by useful, I mean fastest, because we all want to be riding on the fastest frame and wheel set for each race, because that'll just really give you an advantage, and in the end, it might be a much needed advantage. Now, not only does knowing the course help you with choosing your bike, but it also helps you just be prepared for the race. Now, you could just see a route that could be, say, 2,000 feet of elevation gain and around 20 miles. The climb could be all the way at the bottom, or it could just be a series of rollers, and the entire time just anticipating a huge climb, and it just never comes. So by knowing the course, you'll kind of get an idea of where riders are going to attack and what kind of style you should be doing, if you should be trying to go for that breakaway, or if you should just be sitting in for the draft and waiting for that last climb so you can really just give it your all there and try to go for the win. Now, another way that you can just get better at familiarizing yourself with the course is by pre-riding the course. And once you become an experienced Zwifter, you'll likely have completed all the routes at least once, and you'll kind of get a feel for where each of the routes go and the general terrain of each route. And that's something that I've acquired over the past 5 years on Zwift. And it's like, when I select any route, I know what to expect because I've just been riding these roads for so long. It's sort of like riding your local roads outside. You sort of know where everything is. The same thing is eventually going to happen on Zwift, but this is sort of a way to accelerate that process and help you just be more successful earlier on in your Zwift racing career. Now, this fourth thing that I wish I knew when I started Zwift is something that is extremely painful for me to watch, and I just continually see beginners do this over and over again, and this is pulling the group. In Zwift, one of the things that you really do not want to be doing, unless you're an extremely tactical racer who is racing at the top elite races, you do not want to be pulling the group, because if you're pulling the group, all you're doing is wasting energy, and you could just be in the draft putting about half that power in and still going about the same speed. Pulling the group is really not going to make anyone work much harder unless you are a massive rider just putting in humongous watts and just pulling the entire group with you and just making everyone suffer. For most of you, that's not going to be the case, and the best way to go about racing is to be more conservative and just save your energy by drafting for most of the time, and then maybe if you're feeling really good, go for an attack towards the end, or just save your energy for that finishing sprint. But pulling the group is almost never going to be a good idea in Zwift because using the draft is just so beneficial, and by draft I mean just staying behind other riders in a comfortable place in the group, so not off the back, and so sort of like in the middle to the front of the group, but not actually touching the front and pulling the group. Now, this last one that you really just need to get in the habit of doing is using your power-ups. Now, after you're on Zwift for a month or two, you'll kind of get a feel for what each of the power-ups do, and if you want to really just learn about that, all about that right now, I have an article linked up in the upper right-hand corner, and that is to Zwift Insider, and there's a great explanation of what each power-up does in that article. Now, one of the reasons why using power-ups is on this list is because I just see so many riders, even top riders who have been riding on Zwift forever, even some content creators who just have no clue whatsoever about power-ups, and they just completely forget. And I've sort of ingrained it into a habit of mine to just always use my power-up, and that's sort of something that I like to do because it's just going to save you so much energy in the long run, and power-ups are extremely useful if you use them correctly. And if you want to learn how to use them, just hit that link in the upper right hand corner and that'll teach you all about them. That just about rounds it up for my 5 things that I wish I knew when I started out as a Zwift racer, and I hope that you found these tips really helpful and useful, and if you did, please smash the subscribe button. I'm trying to hit 1,500 subscribers by the end of February, so if you help me make that possible, that would be greatly appreciated. Now, I also like to hear what you think below. What are your things that you wish you knew as a beginner Zwift racer? Reply to the comment down below and let me know. Thanks for watching, and ride on. See you all next time.